After having a short break, it was about time to go back in. Are you ready to continue the lessons, William? Yes. Well then, let us go back and continue with the Dance of the Dragons history of the House of Targaryen. So with that, we go back inside, past the staircase with the flag, which is another library, into the library we're at. As William sat down, she then, looking at William, explains to him, this part here you're going to learn about will be about Aegon II and what his part of the Dance of the Dragons was. Alright, so after I do the complete review to him, then I take it you want to hear my opinions on this. As she looks down, she thinks about it for a moment. Are you okay? Yes, I was just thinking. She's looking back up. Yes, I want to hear what you think about both sides. And in your opinion, what you think, who is in the right and who is in the wrong. Just to see what you think about all this. Alright, well, I will give you an honest opinion then. And I guess then we go from there. So with that, William then continues where he left off. Aegon II Targaryen. Aegon II Targaryen was the sixth Targaryen king to sit to the Iron Throne, succeeding his father Viserys I Targaryen as Lord of the Seven Kingdoms. His descent was disputed by his older half-sister, Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, who had been their father's designated heir. Aegon and Rhaenyra fought for the throne in the civil war the singers called the Dance of the Dragons, in which both siblings perished. Aegon was married to his full sister, Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen. His dragon was Sunfire the Golden, and for his personal sigil, he took a golden dragon instead of a red Targaryen one, indicating his mount. During the Dance of the Dragons, his faction used his personal heraldry as their battle plan. Appearance and character. Aegon resembled his father in appearance, though not in personality. He had only a wispy mustache and a sullen look to his face. He wore the crown of Aegon the Conqueror and carried Blackfire the Conqueror's blade. He was lazy, sulky, and gluttonous. Grand Maester Keith also described him as grasping. He was also very promiscuous, and it was widely known that he fathered several bastards. The news came that his father died. Aegon was not found fond with his wife and children, but in bed of his paramour. In youth, Aegon's father, King Viserys I Targaryen, had 3 children by his first wife, Queen Aemma Arryn. 2 were sons who died in infancy. Only Princess Rhaenyra survived to adulthood. Lacking a son to succeed him, Viserys had started to groom Rhaenyra to be his heir. He taught her how to rule and made her part of his small council. In 105 AC, shortly after the death of Aemma and her son, hundreds of lords and landed knights had done obeisance to the princess and sworn solemn oaths within her rights. A year later, in 106 AC, King Viserys married again, this time to Lady Alicent Hightower, who bore him 3 sons, Aegon, Aemon, and Daeron. Alicent also birthed Viserys a daughter, Helaena, despite now having 3 sons. However, Rhaenyra remained King Viserys' heir, a decision he left in his will. Aegon's mother, Queen Alicent, did not agree with her husband's decision to name Rhaenyra heir to the throne over Aegon. When attempts to persuade him to do otherwise failed, Alicent attempted to convince her husband to have Rhaenyra and Aegon marry. Viserys did not agree. The 2 siblings were 10 years apart in age and had never gotten along. King Viserys knew that Alicent only proposed the match to get Aegon on the throne, and thus married Rhaenyra to Sir Lenore Valerian instead. Queen Alicent and Princess Rhaenyra did not get along either, and the enmity between the 2 women was passed on to their children. Aegon and his brothers, Aemon and Daeron, did not get along with their Valerian nephews, and resented the 3 boys for having stolen their birthright, quote-unquote, the Iron Throne itself. Prince Aegon was convinced that Rhaenyra's 3 Valerian sons were fathered by Sir Harwin Strong, and stated such to his younger brother Aemon. It has been said by Grand Maester Gildane that forcing Aegon and his siblings to be close to Rhaenyra's sons, attending the same feasts, balls, and revels, and having them train together in the yard and study together, only caused their mutual dislike to grow. It is unknown when Prince Aegon became a dragon rider, but by the time he was 13 years old at least, Aegon had successfully bonded with Sunfire. In 122 AC, Prince Aegon married his sister, Princess Helaena Targaryen, in King's Landing, their first children. The twins Jaehaerys and Jaehaera were born a year later, as were Aegon's first 2 bastards. One boy he had fathered on a girl on the Street of Silk, and one girl he had fathered on one of his mother's servants. In 127 AC, Princess Helaena gave birth to Aegon's youngest son, Prince Maelor. Despite the various attempts to King Viserys to get Aegon, his siblings, and their Valerian nephews on friendlier terms, Aegon remained resentful of Rhaenyra's children. When in 127 AC, Prince Jaehaerys Valerian asked Princess Helaena for a dance, Aegon took offense. They argued, and might even have fought, had the King's Guard not intervened. Dance of the Dragons. When King Viserys I died in 129 AC, Princess Rhaenyra was still the heir to the throne. With Rhaenyra pregnant on Dragonstone at the moment of Viserys' death, however, the Greens and King's Landing hid the news of Viserys' death, keeping the king's body in his room for 7 days, until their preparations for Aegon's coronation was done. It would be Sir Criston Cole, Lord Commander of the King's Guard, and later known as the Kingmaker, who crowned Aegon king. According to Septon Eustace, Aegon at first did not want the crown, until Sir Criston persuaded him that if he did not take it, Rhaenyra would kill Aegon and his children. Rhaenyra refused to be denied her crown, disputing Aegon's ascension. The realm was split into two factions, known as the Greens and the Blacks, and the civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons began. Aegon kept his grandfather, Sir Otto Hightower, as his Hammered King. Sometime in this period, for unknown reasons, Aegon had Grand Maester Gerardus fed to his dragon. Early in the war, Aegon's heir, Prince Jaehaerys, was murdered in the Red Keep by fled Sheets, agents of Assaria, Prince Daemon's spy massacre. His sister wife, Helaena, quickly began to sink into depression and madness due to the role she had played in the events leading to Jaehaerys' death. Because of his grandfather's delays in waging war, Aegon stripped Sir Otto of the handship and awarded it to Criston the Kingmaker. Sir Criston immediately took to the offensive. Aegon himself took the field in a trap set by Cole at Rook's Rest, where he and his brother Aemon Targaryen fought to kill Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, the queen who never was, and her dragon, Naelys. Aegon and his dragon Sunfire were badly maimed. Aegon suffered from burns and broken bones. His armor had melted into his left arm, and it would take him a year to recover, his mind clouded by milk of poppy, causing him to sleep 9 hours out of every 10. Only his mother, Queen Alicent, and his hand, Sir Criston, were allowed to disturb his rest. Prince Aemon took over the rule in his stead as Prince Regent. Aegon remained bent and twisted for the rest of his life, half his body covered in burn scars. When his half-sister Rhaenyra took King's Landing on the Iron Throne in 130 AC, Larry Strong secretly smuggled Aegon out of the city, disguised as one of the small folk. Aegon hid on Dragonstone and convinced several blacks to defect and help him take the island. During the coup, he fought Lady Baela Targaryen, both of them mounted on dragons. When the dragons fell to the earth during the fight, Aegon tried to jump off Sunfire's back, shattering his legs. He carried great pain with him for the rest of his life, and refused milk of the poppy due to his experience with this from his recovery from Rook's Rest. Meanwhile, his wife, Queen Helaena, had ended her grief by suicide in the capital, and his second and youngest son, Rhaenyra Targaryen, was killed by a mob in Bitterridge. In late 130 AC, Rhaenyra chose to flee to Dragonstone, where, unaware of the coup, she was captured, judged a traitor, and fed by Aegon to his dragon Sunfire, as he and Rhaenyra's son, Aegon the Younger, the future king, Aegon III, watched. The war continued, however, as Rhaenyra's supporters continued her cause supporting her son, Aegon the Younger, despite the boy being King Aegon's prisoner. Upon King Aegon's return to King's Landing, Lord Corlys Velaryon was released from his imprisonment, pardoned, and named to Aegon's small council. The Greens. The Greens were the faction of House Targaryen and their loyalists who supported the ascent of Aegon II as King of the Seven Kingdoms during the Dance of the Dragons. They were opposed by the Blacks. In history, their name derives from a great tournament held in 111 AC at King's Landing on the 5th anniversary of the King Viserys I's marriage to Queen Alicent Hightower, his second wife. At the opening feast, Queen Alicent wore a green gown, whilst Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, Viserys' daughter by his first wife, dressed dramatically in Targaryen red and black. Note was taken, and thereafter their respective factions at the royal court imitated the fashions they set, the Queen's party dressing in green, and the Princess party dressing in black. In time, it became the custom to refer each party as simply the Greens and the Blacks. This is Viserys' first Targaryen of the prominent Greens, royal members, and councilmen. Royal Targaryen members: King Aegon-II Targaryen, King of the Andals, the Rhaenyra, the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, Protector of the Realm, Road Sunfire. Queen Helena Targaryen, Road Dreamfire. Prince Aemon Targaryen, Prince Regent and Protector of the Realm, Road Vhagar. Prince Daeron Targaryen, Road Tessarion. Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen, bonded with Shrykos. Princess Jaehaera Targaryen, bonded with Morgul. Prince Maelor Targaryen possessed a dragon egg. So now we will take a look at the dragons of the Green faction. Sunfire. In history, she may have hatched from a clutch of eggs produced by Syrax. Towards the end of the Civil War, as Dragonstone fell to Aegon II Targaryen, Baela was able to escape from her bedchambers as the door was being smashed down. She managed to reach Moondancer in the stable, where the castle dragon were kept. There, she loosed her chains and strapped a saddle onto her. As Aegon II flew Sunfire over Dragonmount's smoking peak up to meet him, rose Baela on Moondancer. The two dragons fought fiercely in the air. Moondancer was smaller but also more nimble, while Sunfire had been half crippled from his previous fights with Melees and the Grey Ghost, making it difficult for him to keep up with her maneuvers. Eventually, both fell to the ground, slamming into the hard stone while fighting. Moondancer's quickness proved of little use against Sunfire's size and weight, and the green dragon soon lay still. King Aegon leaped from the saddle when the dragons were 20 feet from the ground, but Lady Baela stayed with her dragon wall the way down. Despite being burned and battered, Baela found the strength to undo Moondancer's saddle and chains and crawl away as her dragon coiled into her death throes. Moondancer was devoured by Sunfire. Nonetheless, Moondancer had succeeded in mortally wounding her opponent. Sunfire would never fly again and died 6 weeks later from the injuries she dealt him. The known dragon riders of Moondancer is Baela Targaryen. Dragon Dreamfire. In history, Dreamfire was hatched at some point prior to the reign of Kingmaker I Targaryen, and was ridden by King Aemys' daughter and eldest child, Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen. Dreamfire later bonded with Queen Helena Targaryen. During the Dance of the Dragons, after Helena's 6-year-old son was slain during the Civil War, Helena spent her days in darkness, weeping, and was not capable of riding her dragon. She eventually went mad with grief and threw herself from her window in Maegor's holdfast and died. At the moment of her death, Dreamfire rose suddenly with a roar that shook the dragon pit and snapped 2 of the chains that bound her. During the storming of the dragon pit, the 4 dragons flaring within the dome were in chains. Dreamfire was the only dragon able to break free when the mob broke in. She broke from her remaining bonds and took wing. She circled the cavernous interior of the dome and swooped down to attack the men below. She slew more men than the other 3 dragons combined. The mob pushed through her attacks, and she was within easy reach of archers and crossbowmen. They loosed arrows and quarrels at her. Wherever she landed, men swarmed to attack her, driving her back into the air. Eventually, one of her eyes was nicked by a crossbow bolt. Half blind and maddened, Dreamfire flew into the dragon pit's great dome above. The already weakened dome cracked on impact, and half of it came tumbling down, crushing her and dragon slayers under tons of broken stone and rubble. The known dragon riders of Dreamfire was Rhaenyra Targaryen and Helaena Targaryen. Dragon Vhagar. In history, Vhagar was named after a god of the Valyrian freehold. She was born on Dragonstone from a dragon's egg. War of Conquest. During the War of Conquest, Aegon I Targaryen sent his fleet commanded by Daemon Valerian to take Goldtown. Daemon and the fleet were accompanied by Rhaenyra Targaryen on Vhagar in the battle in the waters off Goldtown. The Arryn fleet was able to defeat the Targaryen fleet, and Daemon Valerian was killed. Rhaenyra recovered what she could of the situation, using Vhagar to burn the surviving Arryn ships. The loss of the Arryn fleet caused the sistermen on the 3 sisters to revolt against House Arryn. In addition, with their fleet destroyed, the Vale lacked the ability to attack the Targaryens by sea. Rhaenyra flew Vhagar to Stony Sept to link up again with other Targaryen armies and dragons. They advanced south, where all 3 dragons took part in the decisive Field of Fire, the only battle in which all 3 of the Targaryen dragons during the conquest took to the sky at the same time. Together, Vhagar, Meraxus, and Balon killed 4,000 men, burning them alive. King Mern IX died, and with him, House Gardner. The army was broken, and House Targaryen was victorious. Afterwards, Rhaenyra flew Vhagar back to the Vale, just as Aegon had flown Valerian directly over the massive walls of Harrenhal. Rhaenyra simply flew Vhagar directly over the impassable mountains to reach the Eyrie. Upon her arrival, Dowager Queen Shera Arryn came outside to find her son, King Ronald Arryn, with Rhaenyra. The young king begged his mother for a ride on Vhagar's back. Shera bent her knee and surrendered, and King Ronald rode on Vhagar with Rhaenyra. Shera's surrender of the Vale made Ronald the last king of Mountain and Vale. It is currently unknown who Vhagar's rider was after Rhaenyra's death. After Valerian died of old age in 94 AC, Vhagar became the last of the 3 Targaryen dragons who had fought in the conquest. Reign of King Viserys I Targaryen. During the reign of King Viserys I Targaryen, Vaegar's rider was Lady Rhaenyra Targaryen, who rode her as young as 12. When Rhaenyra wed her husband Prince Daemon Targaryen, they flew across the narrow sea to Pentos, Volantis, Quor, and Norvos. In each of the three cities, crowds came to see Vaegar and Daemon's Caraxes. After returning to Driftmark, Vaegar, Caraxes, and Syrax often flew together with their riders Laena, Daemon, and Princess Rhaenyra. Shortly after the death of Lady Laena in 120 AC, Vaegar was claimed by 10-year-old Prince Aegon Targaryen. Dragon Targaryen. In history, Targaryen was younger than Sunfire, who was himself described as relatively young in 120 AC. Daeron rode Targaryen into the battle on the Honey Line in the Reach to save Lord Ormond Hightower. Their rival won the fight. The Hightower army then slowly fought its way northeast up the Rose Road to advance to King's Landing, which had fallen to Rhaenyra. The advance took nearly half a year. Targaryen proved highly valuable in the campaign, as Daeron used her to fly ahead of the main army to scout out for traps that the enemy tried to set. Targaryen was present at the first Battle of Tumbleton, apparently held in reserve behind the Hightower lines, to react to how the defenders chose to commit Vermithor and Silverwing to the battle. As soon as Vermithor and Silverwing took to the air, however, the two betrayers riding them turned their flames against the town itself, switching sides with the Hightowers and the Greens. The Hightower army and its now 3 dragons remained encamped at the ruins of Tumbleton for some time afterwards, debating their next move. Targaryen fought Adam Valerian and Seasmoke in the second battle of Tumbleton. Vermithor killed Seasmoke, but died of his wounds soon afterward. Targaryen was also mortally wounded, but suffered more. The battle had begun at night, but she lingered for hours past daybreak. 3 times she tried to fly again, and 3 times she failed. By late afternoon, she still writhed in pain on the ground. At sunset, the dying Targaryen was finally put out of her misery by 3 arrows loosed into her eyes by Billy Burleigh at Lord Benjicott Blackwood's word. The dragon riders of Targaryen was Daeron Targaryen. Dragon Shrykos. The death recorded for Shrykos was that she or he was shackled by her heavy chains. Shrykos was slain by a woodsman known as Hob the Hewer, who leaped onto her neck, driving his axe deep into her skull as she roared and twisted, trying to throw him off. With his wings locked around the dragon's neck, Hob delivered 7 blows, and each time his axe came down, he roared out the name of each of the 7. It was the stranger's blow that slew the dragon. His axe crashed through the scale and bones into Shrykos' brain. Dragon Morgul. The death recorded for Dragon Morgul is that he or she was shackled by heavy chains. Morgul, it is written, was slain by the burning knight who rushed headlong into the dragon's flame with spear in hand, thrusting its point repeatedly even as dragonfire melted the steel plate that encased him and devoured his flesh within. Behind the scenes, Morgul may be a reference to Morgul, the word for dark sorcery in J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth Legendary. So that is the prominent Greens faction, Royal Targaryen members. The Green faction, which was headed by King Aegon-II, in violation of Viserys I's will, that Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen was to be the heir of the Iron Throne of Swords for the realm of the kingdom, consisted of the following. Green Council, by Queen Dowager Alicent Hightower, Sir Otto Hightower, Hand of the King, who was of course still in office, Sir Creston Cole, Lord Commander of the King's Guard and Hand of the King, Sir Tywin Lannister, Maester of Ships, then Maester of Coin, Lord Jasper Wilde, Master of Laws, Lord Larys Strong, Master of Whispers, and Grand Maester Orwyle. There are, of course, like with Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen, certain ones that either by drawings, paintings, or pictures of their faces are the most notable. Therefore, we will focus on them for the time being. Corlys Velaryon. Corlys Velaryon, known as the Sea Snake, was a fabled lord of the tides, master of Driftmark, and head of House Velaryon. He was the husband of Princess Rhaenys Targaryen. Rhaenys Targaryen. During the Dance of the Dragons, he became hand to Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen. His appearance and character. During his elder years, Corlys liked to say that he was clinging to life like a drowning sailor clinging to the wreckage of a sunken ship. In history, for his early life, Corlys was born in 53 AC. He was named after Sir Corlys Velaryon, the first Lord Commander of the King's Guard who served King Aegon I Targaryen. Corlys was a seafaring man. He made multiple voyages, both to the north and the south. He once sailed his Ice Wolf beyond the Wall, but was unsuccessful in finding a northerly route around Westeros. He then sailed aboard his Sea Snake on 9 great voyages to Essos, accumulating wealth from visits to Corth, Yeti, and Lane. Corlys was the first Westerosi to visit Nefer in Engai, and to navigate the Thousand Islands. During his last travel, Corlys filled the sea snake's hold with gold and bought 20 more ships at Corus, loading them with spices, elephants, and silk. Corlys took his nickname, the Sea Snake, from his famous ship. His expeditions on the Sea Snake have been described by Maester Mathis in his book, The Nine Voyages. Corlys became head of House Valerian after the death of his grandsire, richer than lords Lannister or Hightower through his expeditions. Corlys used his great wealth to construct a new seat, High Tide, where he stored his eastern treasures. Because of the trade at the newly built High Tide, new towns on Driftmark sprung up and became the chief ports of trade for a while, drawing even more business than the ports of King Landing. Late reign of Jaehaerys I and reign of Viserys I. Corlys had been married to Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, the only child of Prince Aemon Targaryen, who in turn was the eldest son of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. When Prince Aemon died in 92 AC, King Jaehaerys named his second son, Prince Aegon, heir to the throne over Corlys' wife, Rhaenys. Corlys and Rhaenys had two children, Laena, born in 93 AC, and Lenore, born in 94 AC. Upon the death of Prince Aegon in 101 AC, a great council was called at Harrenhal to determine the new heir of King Jaehaerys I. There, Corlys defended the claim of his son Laenor. It was rumored that Corlys had been readying a fleet for that purpose. Corlys' fame, reputation, and wealth did much to support Laenor's claim, but in the end, Baelon's son, Viserys, received the majority of the votes and was named Prince of Dragonstone. Viserys would inherit the throne in 103 AC. Following the death of Queen Aemma Arryn in 105 AC, Grand Maester Ruthsafar suggested to King Viserys I Targaryen that he take Corlys' 12-year-old daughter, Laena, to wife. King Viserys, however, chose Alicent Hightower. Angered by the third time his wife and children had been scorned by House Targaryen, Corlys and his family did not attend the wedding in 106 AC. Instead, he made an alliance with Prince Daemon Targaryen, King Viserys' younger brother, equally angered by the king's marriage. Corlys had suffered from the Triarchy's rule over the Stepstones, and together with Daemon, was determined to conquer the Stepstones for themselves. While Daemon would lead their army, Corlys would lead their fleet. They began their battles in 106 AC. Winning many victories in the first few years by 109 AC, all but two of the islands, and the waters in between, were firmly under Daemon and Corlys' control. When Daemon declared himself King of the Stepstones and the Narrow Sea, it was Corlys who placed the crown upon the new king's head. Daemon gave up his crown in 111 AC, though he returned to battle there the next year, and no further involvement of Corlys in the conflicts have been reported after 109 AC. In 113 AC, King Viserys I and his small council began discussions concerning a betrothal for Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, Viserys' heir. They eventually agreed on Corlys' son, Lenore. They were married in 114 AC. When Rhaenyra gave birth late that same year, Corlys overruled his son's wish and insisted that the child would be given a traditional Valyrian name. The boy was named Jaehaerys. Two more sons, Lucerys, in 115 AC and Joffrey in 117 AC, would follow. In 115 AC, the newly widowed Prince Daemon visited High Tide, where he conceived the idea to marry Corlys' daughter, Laena. While Laena had been betrothed for nearly a decade to the son of a former Seal Lord of Braavos. However, Laena's betrothed had proved to be a wastrel and a fool after the death of his father. Eventually, he had turned up on Driftmark after losing all of his family's wealth and power. Though Corlys lacked a graceful way to get rid of the betrothal, he was not willing to let the marriage occur, and postponed the wedding on multiple occasions. When Daemon asked for Laena's hand on marriage, he mocked her betrothed until the latter demanded a trial by combat, which he lost. A fortnight later, Corlys saw his daughter wed to Prince Daemon. Through this marriage, Corlys would have two more grandchildren, the twin girls Baela and Rhaenyra Targaryen, born in 116 AC. The year 120 AC was less joyful for Corlys and his wife, however. The first few days of the year, their daughter Laena died several days after giving birth to her third child. The child, malformed, had already died an hour after birth. Their son Lenore did not long after stabbed to death by Sir Carl Corey while attending a fair in Spicetown. Laena's husband, Prince Daemon Targaryen, and Lenore's wife, Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, married each other within 6 months of the deaths of their spouses. Lord Lionel Strong and his son, Sir Harwin, died during a fire at Harrenhal in 120 AC. While there are many stories concerning this fire, the court fool Mushroom claims Corlys had been involved in the fire as revenge on Harren, cuckolding his son. When Corlys fell ill with a sudden fever in 126 AC, the issue of the succession of Driftmark ashore, as both of his children were dead. According to law, Lenore's eldest son, Jacaerys, stood to inherit. However, Jacaerys was the eldest son to the Princess of Dragonstone, already stood to inherit the Iron Throne after his mother, and as such, Corlys was being urged by Rhaenyra to name her second son by Lenore Lucerys as his heir. However, the eldest of Corlys' 6 nephews, Sir Daemon Valerian, insisted that he should be proclaimed heir, insisting that Rhaenyra's 3 sons by Lenore had in truth been fathered by the late Sir Harwin Strong. Prince Daemon seized and executed Daemon, and Daemon's wife, children, and siblings were punished by King Viserys I for repeating the rumors. By 129 AC, Corlys had recovered from his illness. Dance of the Dragons. Lord Corlys Velaryon sat on Rhaenyra's council during the civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons. He was the greatest lord to pledge his strength to the cause of Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen when her claim to the throne following King Viserys I's death was opposed by her half-brother King Aegon-II Targaryen. More than half of Rhaenyra's army was made up of men sworn to House Velaryon. Corlys' fleets also gave the Blacks superiority at sea. When Lord Bartimaeus Celticar urged the princess to fly from Dragonstone to King's Landing at once and reduce the city to ash and bone, Corlys demanded to know how that would serve them, telling him, "We want to rule a city, not to burn it to the ground." Corlys had command over the Velaryon fleet when it closed off the Gullet and sailed back and forth from Dragonstone and Driftmark, blocking all ships from entering or leaving Blackwater Bay, thereby choking off trade to and from King's Landing. Eventually, the Velaryon blockade was broken by the Battle of the Gullet, and High Tide was sacked. All of the treasures Corlys had gathered in the east were destroyed. Corlys' wife, Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, had gone to give aid to Lord Staunton at Rook's Rest, where she battled Aegon II, Prince Aemon Targaryen, and their dragon Sunfire and Vhagar. Rhaenys and her own dragon, Meleys, died in battle, and when news reached Dragonstone, Corlys blamed Rhaenyra for Rhaenys' death, as she had forbidden her sons from going to Rook's Rest with Rhaenys. Corlys was brought back into the fold when Prince Jaehaerys named him Hand of the Queen. Together they planned an assault on King's Landing. For his plans, Jaehaerys offered lands, riches, and knighthood to anyone who could mount one of the riderless dragons. A 15-year-old Adam of Hull managed to claim Seasmoke, formerly ridden by Corlys' late son, Lenore. Adam's mother, Marilda, proclaimed that Adam and his younger brother, Alyn, had both been fathered by Lenore, and apparently, accepting this fact, Corlys petitioned Rhaenyra to legitimize them both, naming Adam his nephew heir. Marilda's proposed parentage for her sons was found remarkable by many, due to the rumors concerning Lenore's sexuality. Court fool Mushroom, however, proposed another possibility, suggesting that Adam and Alyn had both been fathered by Corlys himself, and that he had kept them far from courts whilst his wife was still alive, but took the opportunity after her death to acknowledge them after a fashion. Rhaenyra took King's Landing, though Aegon II and his remaining two children, Jaehaera and Maelor, had escaped capture. Though her forces were victorious in the Witcher's Ball, in which Sir Criston Cole died. The first Battle of Tumbleton resulted in a loss for the Blacks. Prince Aemon was terrorizing the Riverlands with Vhagar, and Lord Mormont Hightower's host, with Prince Daeron and his dragon Tessarn, was slowly advancing on the city. With these threats in mind, Lord Corlys suggested to Rhaenyra that she should offer pardons to Lord Boris Baratheon, Mormont Hightower, and House Lannister, send Queen Alicent Hightower and Queen Helaena Targaryen to the faith, to make Aegon II's daughter Jaehaera Corlys ward, as to marry her to her own son Aegon in due time, and to allow her half-brothers to take the Black. Rhaenyra, however, insisted that her half-brothers had broken their vows before, and that the vows of the Night's Watch would mean little to them. Prince Daemon proposed to destroy both House Lannister and House Baratheon, and granting their seats to Ulf the White and Huff Hammer, 2 of the 4 dragon seats. But Corlys, horrified by this suggestion, insisted that half of the Westerosi lords would turn against him if they were to destroy 2 ancient and noble houses. After Huff Hammer and Ulf the White, the 2 betrayers, switched sides during the Second Battle of Tumbleton, Lord Corlys was the only person on the Black Council to speak in defense of Nettles and his own heir, Adam, the 2 remaining dragon seeds. He remarked that Adam and Alyn were true heirs and worthy of Driftmark, and that Nettles had fought valiantly in the battle in the Gullet. His protests were in vain, however, and Rhaenyra commanded Sir Luther Largen to arrest Adam in the Dragon Pit. Corlys warned Adam, who made his escape on Seasmoke, back. Confronted by an angry Sir Luther, Corlys did not deny the accusations of treachery. Corlys remained silent, though he was bound and beaten before he was taken down into the Red Keep's dungeons and thrown into a black cell to await trial and execution. Some of Corlys' men joined the mob in Cobbler Square that had gathered for the riot of King's Landing, others attempting to scale the walls and free him, and yet others fled the city. Half of Rhaenyra's army that had left from Dragonstone had been made up of Valyrian men, and following Corlys' imprisonment, they began to abandon her by the hundreds, Those who remained could not be trusted. Rhaenyra was eventually forced to flee the city, and King Aegon II Targaryen's men took the city back. Corlys was freed from the dungeons. In return for being pardoned, Corlys would use his wealth and power to support King Aegon II. However, he refused to accept the execution of Aegon the Younger and insisted that Aegon should be betrothed to King Aegon II's only remaining child, Princess Jaehaera, as a requirement for his support to Aegon II. King Aegon agreed, and his nephew, Aegon the Younger, was betrothed to Princess Jaehaera. Corlys served Aegon II on his small council during the short remainder of Aegon's reign. Following the defeat of Lord Boros Baratheon at the Battle of King's Road with an army of Riverlanders near the city, a second host led by Lord Cragen Stark coming down the King's Road, he advised King Aegon II to join the Night's Watch. The king refused, but was poisoned soon after, thereby ending the war. Huff the Hammer. Huff Hammer, or Hard Huff, was a blacksmith's bastard on Dragonstone during the time of the Dance of the Dragons. He was one of the Dragon Seeds. Appearance and character. Huff was tall and huge, with hands strong enough to twist steel bars. He wielded a warhammer. In history, Jacaerys Valerian called for dragon riders in 129 AC. Vermithor, the dragon of the late King Jaehaerys I Targaryen, allowed Huff to mount him. Huff fought valiantly in the battle in the Gullet for the Blacks and was named Lord of Bitterridge afterwards. However, Huff, along with Wolf the White, defected to the Greens at the treasons of Tumulton. Together, they are known as the Two Betrayers. Huff aimed to become a king. Prince Daeron Targaryen threw wine in his face when he made his claim known, and Huff threatened to beat the boy. The next day, Huff wore a crown of black iron, which Sir Roger Corn knocked off. Huff nailed 3 horseshoes to Roger's skull. This ensuing fight between Huff and Roger's supporters led to 3 dead and 12 wounded. The Caltrops conspired to kill both Huff and Ulf. Huff was betrayed and slain during the Second Battle of Trumbleton by Sir John Roxton, who was killed in turn by Huff's men. Jasper Wild. Jasper Wild, called Ironrod, was lord of the Rain House and head of House Wild. He was the master of laws during the reign of Viserys I Targaryen and the civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons. In history, when King Viserys I died in his sleep on the 3rd day of the 3rd moon in 129 AC, Lord Jasper was called to the small council convened in the Queen's chambers by Queen Alicent Hightower and her father, Sir Otto Hightower, Hand of the King. Also in attendance was Sir Criston Cole, Lord Commander of the King's Guard, where plans are made to crown Alicent's son, Prince Aegon, instead of Princess Rhaenyra, who had been named Viserys' heir. With Lord Lyman Beesbury being the only member of the council in support of Rhaenyra, Jasper reminds him of the Great Council of 101 AC, and the old King Jaehaerys I in choosing Prince Balon as his heir over Princess Rhaenys in 92 AC. They also discuss at length Aegon the Conqueror and his sister wives Visenya and Rhaenys, and the hallowed Andal tradition wherein the rights of a true-born son always came before a mere daughter. When Grand Maester Orwyle questions the council on the fate of those not willing to bend the knee to Aegon, Ironrod's response is that they are traitors and must die a traitor's death. Jasper was executed as a traitor by Rhaenyra Targaryen when she took King's Landing in 130 AC. He insisted to his death that the Iron Throne goes to a king's son before a daughter. Larys Strong. Larys Strong was the Lord of Harrenhal, Master of Whispers, and a member of the Small Council during the reigns of Viserys I Targaryen and Aegon II Targaryen. He was known as Larys Clubfoot. His appearance and character. The Clubfoot rarely spoke, preferring to listen. When he did speak, it was either to be glib or share words of great importance. As with most masters of whisperers, he was enigmatic and cunning. In history, Larys and his older brother, Harwin Strong, were brought to court by their father, Lord Lionel Strong, who served on the Small Council. Larys served as a confessor to Viserys I Targaryen. He eventually rose to become Master of Whisperers. His father and brother died in a fire at Harrenhal in 120 AC, causing Larys to inherit Harrenhal. The fire was considered an accident and blamed on the curse of Harrenhal. Many rumors spread about the fire, though, and some accused Daemon Targaryen, Corlys Velaryon, Viserys, and Larys himself as setting the fire. Each had reasons for wanting the Strongs dead, Larys being inheritance. Larys supported Aegon II Targaryen as one of the Greens during the Dance of the Dragons. When Rhaenyra Targaryen took King's Landing in 130 AC, Larys disappeared along with Aegon II. It was later revealed he disguised Aegon as a commoner and smuggled him out of King's Landing to Dragonstone. The Clubfoot's logic being that it would be the last place Rhaenyra would look for her half-brother, as Dragonstone was her stronghold. He was correct, and Aegon and himself spent a half year there disguised as one of the dragon's seed small folk. Larys became one of the conspirators behind the poisoning of Aegon II after Aegon refused to surrender to the Black Army. During the Hour of the Wolf, Larys was arrested for betraying his king and chose death over the wall. Thus, he was executed by Lord Cregan Stark, Hand of the King, for the newly crowned Aegon-III Targaryen, and thus ending the main branch of House Strong. Sir Criston Cole. Sir Criston Cole was a knight of House Cole, made a member of King Viserys I Targaryen's King's Guard, eventually rising to Lord Commander. Criston convinced Viserys' son, Aegon, to claim the rule of the Seven Kingdoms as his father lay dead. This led to the Dance of the Dragons, a civil war between Aegon II and his elder sister, Rhaenyra, whom Viserys had long groomed as his successor. For this, he became known as Criston the Kingmaker. Appearance and character. Criston had black hair and green eyes. Many ladies described him as charming. He was an exceptionally skilled warrior, particularly with his morning star. In history, for his early wife, Sir Criston was born to a steward of Lord Dondarrion at Blackhaven. He won a melee at the tourney at Maidenpool to celebrate the ascension of Viserys I Targaryen, drawing the attention of the royal court by knocking Darksister from the hand of Prince Daemon Targaryen with his morning star. He gave the victor's laurel to the 7-year-old Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, whose favor he wore while unhorsing Daemon in the joust, as well as the Cargyle twins of the King's Guard. Before being unhorsed by Lord Lyman Mallister, thereafter King Viserys indulged Rhaenyra by naming Criston her personal sworn shield. In 105 AC, the 23-year-old Criston became a member of the King's Guard, taking the place of the legendary Sir Ryam Redway. Cole was Rhaenyra's favor in a tournament in 111 AC, where he unhorsed Sir Gawain Hightower, brother and champion to King Viserys' second wife, and Queen Alicent Hightower. In 112 AC, Sir Criston was still Rhaenyra's champion and constant companion. Lord Commander Sir Harold Westerling died in that year, and Criston was named his successor to lead the White Cloaks. It was rumored that Cole had an affair with Rhaenyra in 133 AC. Septon Eustace says that Sir Criston slipped into Rhaenyra's bedchamber to confess his love, offering to abscond with her to one of the free cities where he would pledge his sword to some merchant prince, but that Rhaenyra refused him, saying Targaryen was meant to be more than the wife of a sellsword, and that if he could forget his King's Guard vows, he could forget marriage vows. The royal fool Mushroom tells a different tale, that Rhaenyra had been practicing her enticements with her uncle, Prince Daemon, so that she would lose her maidenhead to Criston, a man she loved, rather than her betrothed homosexual cousin, Laenor Valerian. She failed to seduce Sir Criston in White Sword Tower, however, and the spurned princess took solace in her Harwin Breakstones strong. Whatever the way of it, Cole went from being her staunchest defender to her bitterest foe, and Rhaenyra soon left for Driftmark with Breakbones as her new sworn shield. In 114 AC, Sir Criston attended the wedding of Rhaenyra to Lenore, which included 7 days of feasting and jousting. Cole fought with Queen Alicent's token, and during a melee, left Breakbones with a broken collarbone and shattered elbow, prompting Mushroom to call him Breakbones thereafter. Kristen's Morningstar also cracked the helm of the Knight of Kisses, Laenor's favorite Sir Joffrey Lonmouth, which he died from 6 days later. Cole became a staunch supporter for Queen Alicent ever after. Kristen tutored Prince Aemon Targaryen to be a skilled swordsman despite Aemon's one eye. The Dance of the Dragons. Due to the contradictory sources, Kristen's motives in supporting Aegon II are unclear. Some say that he acted from ambition, as Aegon was more controllable than his willful half-sister Rhaenyra. Indeed, Aegon II eventually raised Sir Kristen to the office of Hand of the King. However, some say Rhaenyra spurned him, adding a personal dimension to the conflict. Others allow Cole noble motives and claims he was defending ancient Andal custom, giving precedence to sons over daughters, or that he did not wish to see Rhaenyra's children, who he believed bastards, to inherit the Iron Throne. In any event, many of the lords of the realm were aware of Viserys' wish to have Rhaenyra succeed him as House Targaryen's first queen regent, and threw their support behind the princess. During the meeting of Viserys' small council after King Viserys' death in 129 AC, Cole sit the throne of Lord Lyman Beastbury, the only member of the council to support crowning Princess Rhaenyra instead of Prince Aegon. The rest of the council were Greens. Kristen later crowned Aegon II with the iron and ruby crown of Aegon the Conqueror. However, Rhaenyra, who was at Dragonstone at the time of Aegon's coronation, refused to support Aegon, beginning the Great Armed Conflict which engulfed the Seven Kingdoms and became known as the Dance of the Dragons. As the Blacks gathered their forces, Aegon II became frustrated with his Hand of the King, Sir Otto Hightower, and awarded the office to Sir Criston Cole. The Kingmaker's forces quickly took Duskendale and Rook's Rest, the latter after a fierce battle. Prince Aemon Targaryen became protector of the realm and Prince Regent. Because of Aegon's injuries in the battle, Kristen remained Ham. Aemon and the Kingmaker led an army of 4,700 Greens from King's Landing to retake Harrenhal in the Riverlands from Prince Daemon Targaryen, who vacated the castle before Kristen arrived. After hearing of the Lannisters' defeat in the battle by the lakeshore, Aemon began burning the Riverlands, and Cole marched his remaining 3,600 Greens south along the western shore of the God's Eye, intending to join with the army of Lord Ormond Hightower. However, the Kingmaker's forces were ambushed by the Winter Wolves and River Knights south of the God's Eye, and he died in the Butcher's Ball in 130 AC. Sir Otto Hightower. Sir Otto Hightower we will cover here in just a brief moment.
At the end of what would be most of the study of the Greens from the House of Targaryens, um, King Aegon II formed faction, which was based from Queen Alicent. It was then decided to take another break. William, let's go take another break. When we come back, we will finish the last part of um, the Greens, and by that time, you should be getting into the Dance of the Dragons war itself. By the time we're done with that, then we will go ahead and break for lunch. All right, sounds like a good plan. Um, I find your history very fascinating, Daenerys. You do. Yeah, it's not like any history of my family. Mine would be, I don't know, probably boring as a human, but it is quite intriguing. Well, I'm glad you are enjoying reading about my family's history and genealogy of my house, Targaryen. You are doing well, William. So with that, they get up and leave the library, past the staircase with the flag, and head out to the palace court for a short time.